Shir B'Zvat Hashem should be a shmira for Menachem Mendel ben Eita Rezov, soldier in the IDF, as well as his unit and all the soldiers, and a refuah shleima for Yankel ben Lydia and Avraham Nechemiah ben Braina.
Right.
We've said this before, but we're not here for a nice word. We're not here for something to share at the Shabbos table. We're here to learn the Torahs of the Tzaddik Emes, the Tzaddik Emes, and his student, his main student, the reason why we have everything of Rabbi Nachman of Nassim Zal. Right, we're here to change our lives. A person can live with years with all his stuff, wondering when it's going to be healed. And you try this therapist, and you try that medicine, and all this stuff. But the answer is with Moshe. The answer is with the tzaddik who is traveled to the highest realms and has come back to us with Torahs and Eitzahs and a mahalach and how to transform a person's life. So that when we're learning the Torah, the tzaddik, and he's talking about getting up his rizus and breaking Taivas moment and breaking sleep and all the different parts of the Torah that he's saying, it's not so that you could say at the Shabbos table and everyone goes, ooh, wow, he knows Likutey really well. It's because when you do that, it's going to bring Hashkamas into your life, and it's going to achieve all the spiritual mechanisms that are latent in this teaching, which is why, how do we activate the teaching? Is through the tefillah, through his bodedus. Right? One of the famous ideas from Breslov, from Rabbeinu Zal, is that you take Torah and you make it tefillah. So when you go into his bodedus, and you say, Shem, wow, I really having a lot of anxiety with money. But Rabbi Nachman says that when I break Taivas Mammon, I am sweetening the dinim, I am tapping into his Halachos, I am waking up from my spiritual sleep, so therefore, Hashem, help me to do this. Not just to think about it or contemplate it, but literally to experience what he's saying. B'ezrat Hashem, we should have our lives changed by the tzaddik. We're holding in the second halacha in Hashkamas HaBoker, based on the first law in the Shulchan Aruch, is kaber karila abo b'boker, v'chulei, Shavisi Hashem Leneged Tamid. We were introduced to the idea of when a person gets up with zrizus, he gets up with energy. Right? He breaks his sleep. He builds a munah. It's trickling in. Right here, baby. Right? So, person gets up with Jesus, he breaks his sleep, he's building a munah, he's going to conceptually parallel this to the idea of breaking Taivas Momon. Right? All of this is in transforming Dinam into Chasandim and breaking Das down, and through the Das, the Tzaddik, or for the Tzaddik, it's bringing down Torah insights. For us, it's renewing our relationship to the Torah, right? His Chadshus, and we learned as well this notion that our closest to the Torah is directly commensurate with our experience with Hashkacha Pratis, and it has to do with the Kabbalist idea of Tanta, of the Osios, right? The letters and the vowels and the cantillations, etc., coming and emanating from the eyes of Adam Kadmon and being right. That's what makes up the Torah. This piece of vision, it's Hashem's vision, so to speak. So you're connected to the Torah. You're accessing the Hashkacha Pratis. These are just some of the ideas from the Torah. So I think we're going to pick up in the new printing, page 87. He's going to say an amazing thing here. And then when a person breaks his desire for sleep, as when he breaks the desire for money, then on the contrary, sleep is especially beneficial for him. Yeah. Exactly. For through sleep one renews his soul. As alluded to in the verse, they are new in the mornings. Your moon is great, alluding to the munah of the person himself. People think, okay, I got to get, 8 hours, full 8 hours, 10 hours. But what he's saying over here is that when you actually do what he's saying, and you're like, well, you get up and you break the sleep itself becomes restorative. As opposed to, I got to get 10 hours of sleep tonight, So in a certain sense, in a spiritual perspective, you can get maybe less sleep, 4 hours, 5 hours, but you're having this intention, I'm going to get up and break the sleep suit and the kind eights of the tzaddik, and then like retroactively that sleep it becomes restorative, not just physically, but in like a spiritual sense. Similarly, through the money that a person earns, he renews his soul by engaging in the give and take of business with the munah. Which is the concept of sleep as it's written in the lesson, right, in the Likutey Moharan lesson 13, Ashrei Am Zarka. The Rebbe teaches that a businessman who has a munah suffers no loss as a result of his faith and integrity. On the contrary, by breaking the desire for wealth and transacting his business affairs with Amunah, he turns an exceptional profit, which is the renewal of his soul. Right? So we're seeing how it's not like sleep is 100% bad in a spiritual sense, or that, being involved in business is bad. It's when there's the right intentionality, right? I'm doing business with integrity, then the business itself becomes like the healing. It restores the human being the same way that sleep, when approached in a spiritually healthy way, and we're trying to kind of aids of the Rebbe, then the sleep becomes productive as opposed to exasperating our laziness or exasperating our sluggishness. Is that Perush Ad Masai Eitzal Tishkav Masai Tako Mishnasecha? This is the explanation of the verse, hey, lazy one, how long will you lie down? When will you rise up from your sleep? Ha'inu, ad masei tishka v'tisham ba'atzlus. In other words, how long will you lie down and sleep lazily? Masai tishabir asashena. When are you going to break the desire for sleep? Sha'az adarabba idei hashenas yischazek moichel yischadish nafsho kanal. For then when a person breaks the desire, Adarabba, by sleeping, by going to sleep, he actually strengthens his mind and renews his soul. This is the meaning of when takum from your sleep. That is when you have takuma, which is revival, such that your soul will arise and be elevated through the very sleep itself. And so one of my other printing from one of the, it has like boxes of eights on the bottom. Highly recommend. But one of the points that I was thinking about that it brings down is it's like, what's your intention when going to sleep? Right, but the night before you're like, Hashem, I want to go to sleep right now to restore myself so I can get up very early and, the kind of Rebbe Zaitz and build my emunah and break time as mamon and do holy things in the morning and affect the Yehudim, right? As we learned that emunah, i.e. the Shechina / Malchus, right, is caught in the klippas in the darkest parts of the night. And then from midnight onward, there's this sort of ascending, and we influence that ascending vis-a-vis the spiritual work that we do, so there can be a yichud between Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the Shechina, the feminine aspect. Which he's going to, I think, say right now, actually. And a person merits to elevate his soul by breaking his desire for sleep. He there affects a yichud between Kodesh Baruch Hu and the Shechina. This is important. This is the import of so that it is he awakens the shachar. La'ora ayelas shachar lezivug. Waking up early, waking up eagerly from sleep to serve Hashem is to awaken ayelas shachar, which is code name for Malchus and the Shechina for their union. Right, so through our what we're doing in the morning, we are facilitating this zigzag between the masculine and feminine aspect of Hashem, which is ultimately going to have spiritual ramifications, such as bringing down, Torah, etc. So now, hopefully, we can explain this well. I've been thinking about this part of this Torah for a little bit, and hopefully, it'll come across clear. So he says further, V'zeh perush she's gaber ka'ari. This is the explanation of a person should strengthen himself like an ari, like a lion, who bechines Likutey anfashos le'olasam k'moshakaser Rabbeinu b'tor ashre'am. The word ari suggests a gathering, and so the Shulchan Aruch statement alludes to the gathering the souls to elevate them, as Rabbi Nachman wrote in lesson 13. Bechines arisi ma'ori im vishmi. Gathering the souls and all the wills that issue from them is the concept of, right, there's this pasuk in Shir and Shirim, I have gathered my myrrh and with my spice. Ariti, my myrrh with my spice. The tzaddik gathers people's diverse wills, all their wants and aspirations, these as bitter as myrrh and those as fragrant as spice, and then elevates them in order to renew their souls. So I was thinking, so it says in the commentary in Likutey from BRI, so what does it mean that the tzaddik is going to gather the disparate parts of who you are, like your will, like he explains that a person has holy desires and he also has non-holy desires. And so to speak, we bring that all to the tzaddik. So I'll just read exactly what he says here at the end of the lesson in the BRI printing Likutey. So it says that today the great tikkun explained in this lesson can be achieved by studying the works of the true tzaddik and by making the pilgrimage to his gravesite, praying there together with his other followers to come closer to Hashem and to fulfill His will. This is especially true for those who come to Rabbi Nachman's gravesite for Rosh Hashanah, for the kibbutz. Even now, Rabbi Nachman is working on behalf of the fallen souls. He raises them up and elevates them even more so than during his lifetime, because tzaddikim are greater after death than they were alive, as it says in Chulin 7b. And we see clearly the love and affection the Hasidim have for each other,
how they strive to renew themselves and encourage each other in the service of God. By uniting his soul with the others who join this kibbutz, by praying and beseeching God to bring him closer, a person can now draw upon himself the power which the tzaddik has to renew and rectify the soul. Rabbi Nachman, my friends, is still alive. Because he's more alive now than when he was alive physically. Right? So to speak, our being mikusher to him, right? He's able to still bring us up, but as well through studying his teachings, right? When we engage in a piece in Likutey Halachos or a piece in Likutey Moran, and we're learning about the eitzes, and we're learning about how to be in the world and how to affect our healing. So we're coming to the tzaddik, and the tzaddik is giving us a way to, take all of ourselves and, in our hisbodedus or in tefillas to cause that tikkun. And this is hinted at as Rav Nassan is saying, in the first halacha, that word ka'ari, hinting to that point of gathering. Va'ayide is mamshim hashkacha shlema. And through the tzaddik's elevations of souls and wills, right? Because when we are studying the Torah, and the Torah is transforming our inner worlds, right? We experience that elevation. We draw new Torah insights, which in turn elicits full hashkacha. The idea is that this is a result. This is a result of our coming near Hashem's power of sight through the Torah, like you explained before, and this is expressed through V'zeh Shavisi Hashem Leneged Tamid. And this is why the Ramaz gloss in the law, a person should strengthen himself like a lion twice in the morning, cites the verse, I said Hashem before me always, Heinu Hashkacha Leinu Tamid. In other words, when Zrizus in serving Hashem breaks the desire for sleep, right, his soul's elevation elicits a new revelation of Torah. And so when we come close to that Torah, right, we're walking with the Rebbe's Torah, we're thinking about it, we're doing his bodedus on it, right, we come into Hashem's line of sight, as it were, so that his hashkacha is always is upon us always. I said Hashem before me always, right? So that's why you're meant to when you're like sort of like what Jeff was saying before this year, that he's been thinking about the idea of Taivas Mammon and living that with a little bit, and then we're giving us by doing so, we're giving us access to the potency of the Torah. And that hashkacha pratis, you're gonna, all of a sudden, you see everything through the lens of that teaching. You're like, oh wow, and you're inviting that direct oversee of Hashem into your life. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So,
we always ask the hard questions.
No.
This is a piece you have to marinate on for a while. You gotta so, and the Torah itself is actually, from what I saw, it's complex. Lots of different components to it. And it's interesting because this halacha is very short, but this Torah is pretty long in the Likutey Moran. It's really this is probably one of the, if you look at historically the different discourses in Likutey Halachos, they are. Each subject might have several discourses. So he wrote that over 40 years, basically. So the ones that he wrote when he was younger, they might be a little bit shorter. There's different theories about how Likutey Halachos emerged. You can read about it through Fire and Water of Nassan's biography that B.R.I. put out. So the longer pieces generally, I think, are understood that they happened later on in his life, whereas the shorter pieces generally might have been, I think, a little bit earlier on. So it could be he wrote, this is the second halacha, so, and it could be even the first halacha was later on, but he wanted it to be the first, because it's the Zamra, and this was the teaching that was so impactful to him, because that's also a little bit of a longer discourse. So this is, pretty short, so he's a little bit more concise, or he's not as verbose in his writing. So you have to see it a few times to let it sink in.
In the first piece, he repeated the same concept in different ways.
Right, over and over again. Right, right. Which he says in the introduction, by the way, I think we maybe talked about it,
Right.
was that that's done purposely because he's
Right.
like, and you actually, if it's almost poetry. If you were to read the straight Hebrew of this, you would see how he's weaving these things together in this like very beautiful tapestry. You're like, why is he saying this again and again? But he's like, he's reinforcing the points with different bechinas, etc., etc. You know, because at the end of this piece, he's actually gonna show how this is all being mamtik the dinim. You know, when we go through this whole sort of process. He says, Rebbe, you good? Says over here, this is sort of like the last leg here. We're going to talk about getting up for chatzos. Don't worry, you know, maybe we're not holding there yet. But we can daven that one day we can be zocher to getting up for chatzos and
Going to sleep at Chatzos, that I know.
yeah. Most people go to that, you know. But getting up at chatzos. Although I think Rabbi Nachman holds that it's like a little bit later. It's like different. There's like 2 shitas or something when chatzos is halachically. It's not my expertise, but I mean, this is also not my expertise, but I just really love it. So that his chatzos is a little bit later on, I think, maybe like a little bit more doable for some people.
Ashmoides is a certain different Ashmoides in the
Right.
Gemara. Maybe it's going, is it 3 Ashmoides, 4 Ashmoides? So maybe Chatzos has to do with that.
I think it's like 6 hours after Seis. Maybe, or no, I don't remember.
It's not when the Zman and Apple here.
Yeah, I'm sure that has.
Doesn't have best of Chatzos.
Let's say it's 12:41. Chatzos Laila.
Okay, so he says, "V'zeh shekasu shara'u l'chol yirei shemayim shehi meitzer v'da'eg al churban b'samikdash." This is related to what is written in the Shulchan Aruch or Chaim, chapter 1, right, section 3. It is fitting for every person who fears Hashem to be pained and distressed over the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. Nikol mis'abel al Yerushalayim zoche v'roeh b'simcha k'mo she'amar Rabbi Sinu Zal. For whoever mourns over Yerushalayim will merit witnessing its rejoicing, as Chazal taught. Nimsa ayidei shemeitz v'doeg al ha-Beis Hamikdash zeh b'chins binyano. It follows that being pain, the distress, or the destruction and absence of the Beis Hamikdash is the equivalence of its rebuilding and the subsequent rejoicing. Binyan Beis Hamikdash hu bechinas binyan hadash. Ayde zeh yecholim la'alos nefashos kanal kamura simon yud gimel hanal ayin sham. And building the Beis Hamikdash is synonymous with building up das, since it's through this it is possible to elevate souls, as explained above and brought in the Likutey Moran.
But aren't you supposed to mourn the Beit HaMikdash?
Yeah, that's what it wants.
Well, it says by breaking the desire for sleep, namely the desire for mourning, and mourning over Yerushalayim and the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, we spiritually rebuild it. Oh, it's saying that by mourning it, you're spiritually rebuilding
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
I thought it was saying don't waste time mourning it.
No, we definitely want you to mourn it.
Okay.
Definitely want you to mourn it.
I mean, you can't just spend like your whole day doing that, right? Or
Oh,
you're
he's
not
talking about
supposed
chatzos.
to. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what Tikkun Chatzot is all about.
Like take a few moments at Chasod to mourn
But
over the Beit HaMikdash.
Tikkun chatzos is a whole tefillah that is like it's a set liturgy
Got it.
that people can say to find it in certain sidurim, and so he's saying that when you do this, this is actually building das, and you're so to speak by mourning over it, it's as if you're building das, so because das is conceptually the same as building the Beis Hamikdash, so you're effectively, so to speak, building the Beis Hamikdash,
They say that if someone who if people who don't have, what's the saying? If you don't have das, is like
right, yeah.
How does that go? It's like
You like destroy the Beis Hamikdash,
destroy the
you know.
If you do have das, is like you're building.
Right.
You should build the base that should be zocher in your time, but so I guess it's all connected.
right. And das, just generally speaking, is God consciousness, awareness, presence of being, if you will. Yeah, and the tzaddik has the most das. you know, in a certain sense, right? But Nachman has the most God consciousness, and therefore that God consciousness gets translated into that's what enables the, if I understand correctly, the drawing down of the Torah insights, which ultimately rejuvenates us. Here we go. Hu bechinas taivas mamon. And this relates to rising at midnight to recite Tikkun Chatzos, which involves breaking the desire for sleep, i.e., as well the desire for money, Ablim Yerushalayim, the Churban Beis HaMikdash, and mourning over Yerushalayim and the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. Bonin also, and through this we spiritually rebuild it. And through this aspect of building the Beis HaMikdash and meriting das, it thereby becomes possible to gather up the Jewish souls and to elevate and renew them and render them worthy of a new revelation of Torah, which is going to transform their avodas Hashem. And so rising at midnight mitigates the dinim, because rising at that time we effectively break the grip of sleep, which is the aspect of death and kafira. Sleep as it relates to death and non-belief is accompanied by the dinim. For as long as there is non-belief and idol worship in the world, and also taivas mamon, there is burning anger in the world. Hashem is not happy. By rising at midnight, we raise up the emunah. Right, this is our part of the avoda. This is like the raising of the feminine waters in order to bring down the masculine waters. We raise up the emunah and strengthen it. Hashem's wrath and the dinim are thus mitigated, and we draw chasadim, that loving kindness, into the world. So if you were wondering how you could help the cause of the matzav that we're in, even if he's talking about getting about chatzos right now, but just the idea of, like, I'm gonna get up. I intend to get up tomorrow at X time. And when that alarm goes off, you do it. But you're getting up because you want to learn more, or you want to do spodadus. You are engaging in this spiritual mechanism that's transforming the dinim into chasadim, and cooling, so to speak, Hashem's anger, and you're building a munah, which is what the world needs right now. This is in keeping with what the Rebbe wrote elsewhere, that rising at midnight and lamenting the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash is as effective as giving a pidyon. It says in the bottom, just for those that don't know, a pidyon, a redemption, refers to money or an ajay given to a tzaddik so that he will effect a tikkun and a salvation on behalf of the giver. It is a time-honored custom for a Jew experiencing some misfortune or hardship to give tzedakah to a tzaddik and ask him to pray on his behalf. The pidyon serves as a catalyst to mitigate the dinim of Hashem's decree. Kamo pidyon daika ki pidyon hu bechinat tzedakah shemishaber taivas momon mamtik adinim. The analogy to a pidyon is befitting and precise because the pidyon is a form of tzedakah. And we've already seen that by giving tzedakah, that breaks the taivas mamon. And so it mitigates the dinim. V'chein chatzos hu shaviras hashena. And so the same is true of rising at midnight, which is the means by breaking the desire for sleep, which is also like getting a pidyon. So we're seeing this symphony of ideas sort of coming together. Shehu bechinas taivas mamon kanal she'aydizeh mamtik dinim. And this corresponds to breaking the desire for money, to which we mitigate dinim, as mentioned above.
So, you see all the biggest tzaddikim, they don't go to bed with a penny in their pocket. And their family's like, don't give him money because he's going to spend it, he's going to just give it all away.
Right. And just review over here. By breaking the desire for sleep and rising at midnight, to lament the Churban Beis HaMikdash.
What means lament?
Lament to mourn. Lament to mourn the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. a person merits to elevate and renew his soul. Moreover, when a person gets up at midnight to serve Hashem, he's mitigate dinam. The concealment of godliness is in much the same manner as giving opinion to a tzaddik. Sorry, he mitigates dinam, which is the concealment of godliness, in much the same manner as giving opinion to a tzaddik. This is because rising then breaks the grip of sleep, which is a form of death and denial of Hashem, awakens dinam in the world, meaning the sleep awakens dinam, and night and darkness, etc. By getting up and serving Hashem, a person increases amunah and draws chasadim into the world. What's the greatest din? Is I don't see Hashem in my life. Right? The whole thing here, what's Taivas Mamon? It means I don't believe that Hashem is supporting me.
Yeah.
So therefore, I have to, like, today, I was like, they wanted me to stay longer at work. And so part of me is like, maybe I should stay, some more money. We got the shir tonight. I got, family. So I decided not to stay. It's also whatever. It would have been very taxing to stay. It's a taxing job. But it's like, what's our worldview? Right? So when Taivas Mamum becomes the centerpiece of our life, right, with that saying, that's the kafir, is that, I have to kill myself to make a living because Hashem, Chas v'Chalila doesn't take care of me. That's the expression of the kafira. So by breaking the Taivas Mamum, either by, recognizing with Amunah that Hashem's going to take care of me, right, we are taking that concealment and we're moving past the concealment and saying, Hashem, I know you're really here. I know you're really taking care of me.
It's all gonna work out.
What'd you say?
It's all gonna work out.
Right,
You don't need to worry.
right. We see how this thing, destroys people. Stress. Like I heard in a shir today, so many people, large percentage of people come back from work and they have neck pain, from stress, work,
Sitting still, your hands are like this.
I think it was more like yes, that definitely
The
exacerbates
stress
it.
adds to it, but
But literally the stress of the work itself
Yeah.
is what gets manifested in the physiology of the body.
I get really bad knots where my neck meets my shoulder.
Right. So
Like,
again,
sometimes it moves to my neck, but it affects people in different places depending on like where in your body's weakest. Like for a lot of people, they experience back pain instead of
Yeah.
neck pain. Some
Yeah,
people
that's
experience
true.
more like foot pain.
the physical pain is really a metaphor for, the spiritual pain of what it is, to be a slave to it.
It's funny you say it's like a pidyon by a tzaddik. But is it like a pidyon by the tzaddik? Rabbi Nachman talks about the difference.
Right. Yeah. But let's see if there's any other nikudas here. I wrote notes in different places. See anything else you wanted to see over here? Yeah, and just not to belabor the point, but the Ikra Din is Hashem's concealment, which means that I don't see Hashkacha Pratis in my life. And the Derech of the Torah is giving us a way to actually experience spiritual renewal, Amunah, Chiyas, seeing that Hashem is very much a part of every minutia of my life. Right, and that's a different life than, a life of teva, of I have to kill myself to make a living.
Or teva, life of taiva.
Yeah, that's interesting. Teva, teva. Any questions, comments, concerns? Tov?
Yeah, no. Give us something to think about this week.
Yeah.
Something to work on.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
like a practical eitzah here, or maybe a few practical eitzahs is, how do you want to go to bed? You know, you set that intention the night before. I want to get up at X time in order to do my spiritual avodah, which in turn makes the sleep restorative. And you're also breaking Taivas Mamon. We also saw that giving tzedakah is breaking Taivas Mamon. And, Jeff.
Yeah, and waking up by Chatzot is like the stuff of tzaddikim. And obviously normal people do it too.
Right.
But they say at least try to wake up before alos. He said it's mantek the dinim is to wake up before alos.
Right. Now it's like a little bit easier.
It's a little bit easier.
Mates at like 7:30, you know.
Right.
But so how, you know, we can take, we don't have to do it all at once. We could take, you know, the avodah and see how it can be applied given our certain life conditions, and then also just the notion of, as well as, you know, giving Rabbi Nachman permission to heal us. You know, giving Rabbi Nachman permission to, you know, we can engage in the Torah and see that there's medicine in the Torah, and we can bring the, you know, in our Hespod Lusar and Tefillah, that you want to be Mekayim the Eitzah, and that you want to be Mekusher to the Tzaddik, and that, you know, we can have that intention, and therefore, you know, renew ourselves in the avodah and feel impassioned with the avodah, and not be, you know, like a cold condition, as Rav Nosson would say, with our be a warm condition with our avodah Hashem, you know. Tov. Hadmalach, Halachah, Beis, Hadmalach, Halachah, Beis, Hadmalach, Halachah, Beis.